Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Internal Use Only podcast. My name is Dan Sullivan, your host. Today, we are joined by Michael Joyce. He's a vice president, senior investment consulting, covering wirehouses out of Chicago for Calamos Investments. A couple of quick housekeeping notes, and we'll get right to our interview. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everybody that subscribed to our newsletter that just launched. So the first 50, you're all entered to win some internal use only merchandise that'll be coming out this summer. And second, this episode is brought to you by Noble. So thank you to Noble for partnering with Internal Use Only to bring you both the newsletter and this episode. Noble has several wholesaler approved items for our busy lives. Their new public rec collection has men's tops and bottoms. That's got you covered for your commute to a meeting or to the course. I actually just rocked some of their new pants on a trip to Dallas. It was good enough for me to wear in the morning on the flight and in the boardroom during my meetings that afternoon. You can get 30% off with Welcome 30 for your first order. Check out the links in the show notes. So without further ado, Michael, you just sat through that first ad read here. Welcome to the podcast. I'm really happy to have you here today.
Dan, thanks for having me on. I was not aware that you're sponsored by Noble. I'm actually wearing a pair of Noble gray sneakers, and I'm embarrassed I'm actually wearing a pair of Noble joggers with my fake top on here. Huge fan of them. Met those guys when I lived in Boston. Love that you're sponsored by them. I could talk your ear off about that maybe for another time.
Well, it's a very fitting title sponsor for our episode today, which will focus on fitness, health, and wellness, and how that factors into your performance as a wholesaler, both individually and also managing your territory. But before we get into all that, as is tradition here with the Internal Use Only podcast, I love asking our guests about the early part of their wholesaling career, how they got started. So I know that you've been a little bit of a journeyman in the sense of like locations that you've actually worked. So take us through that. Where did you start? And then talk about that progression from internal out to your first external territory.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone in our shoes has what I call an origin story, right? How'd you end up here? And some are more fascinating. For most of us, it took us to different parts of the country we weren't familiar with. And for many of us, it brought us back home. And that's really what it did for me. I'm fresh out of college, right? Trying to get in our industry. I moved to Houston, Texas at the ripe age. I was about to just turned 23 years old. This is right about 20 years ago. I had never been to the state of Texas. First thing I did when I got to Houston is I called a friend from high school who lived in Dallas. I told him how excited I was that we're going to see each other. Then I was blindsided when he told me that Dallas is 5 hours north of Houston. And being from Chicago, it was like, wait, that's like living in St. Louis. We're never going to see each other. I'd never lived on my own, right? I was in college, which is just an extension of home, right, with your friends. Suddenly, I'm sleeping on an air mattress. I'm paying $317 a month for a studio apartment that is the size of, let's call it a small office. And I didn't know a soul. But you're making $20,000, right? And they tell you there's light at the end of the tunnel. So that job, I was down there for about 4 or 5 years. Absolutely loved it. I loved it at that part of my life. My first wholesaling gig, I was a whopping 27. I was lucky. I had a manager take a chance on me. I moved to Boston, which was awesome, covering all of New England, home to you, Dan. So I spent a ton of time in Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, you name it. I kind of cut my teeth there. That's where I met my wife, first 2 children. That next job took me down to the good old Jersey Shore, which I absolutely loved. And I thought that would be home forever. I had my 3rd child there. It was great. Had a lot of fun, a lot of friends. And then a few years later, right, as life happens, my wife kind of said, if there's a chance to get back home, it'd mean a lot to me. We were having more kids. Ideally, we had a 4th recently. And now I say I moved back to Chicago. And so when people say, have you lived in Chicago all your life? I said, I left for nearly 20 years. And now I live about a full mile from the house I grew up in. And I'm glad I left. And I'm very glad to be back.
When you reflect on that, that experience, do you have a preferred territory of all those that you had covered? Like, I know they probably all have a special place in your heart now for like the time and the place of your life, but if you could describe or compare and contrast some of those, I think the audience might be interested in that, because those are some pretty big markets. You got New England, you got New Jersey, and Chicago.
Yeah, they were all kind of right for me at the right time. I tell my wife, like, when I moved to Boston, I was 27, I was single, and I needed it at that time in my life, right? It taught me I had nothing but work. My life was work and go to the gym, right? Which most people say that's pretty boring, but for someone who's trying to build a business, it was ideal, right? I had no friends, right? So every advisor, right? I'm going to dinner every single night. right? I'm going out all the time. I'm working every single weekend because I have nothing else to do. So for me, it really forced me to grow up, right? Then as I kind of felt I had some direction, I figured out kind of my brand. It was awesome to move down to Jersey, right? You're outside of New York City. I had a little bit more of a comfort. I think I knew more people there. And for me, I thought that was going to be home forever, right? I could live there forever, going to the ocean in the summertime, 5 days a week. But then there's something about, right? I say, I'm biased. I'm from Chicago, but I absolutely love it. Um, I take the train to the city. I see five guys I know. I go to the same places. And for me, there's nothing I'd rather do. My kids go to school down the street. So I think if you look at it kind of through that lens, every one of them was exactly what I needed at that time. It's kind of like when I tell my wife, we say, like, we're lucky we met when we did. If it was 5 years earlier, it probably wouldn't have worked. Right. And for wholesaling, it worked for me.
The main topic for today, all those listening, this is a little bit deviation from, I think, your typical subject matter expertise. It is certainly subject matter expertise, but it's not about product. It's not about pitching. This is about health and wellness and balancing an active lifestyle during an incredibly busy job, which is wholesaling. So, Michael, let's start off with this conversation because obviously you're a fit guy, you're in good shape. Has fitness always been a part of your life? Are you an ex-athlete that's always trained and you've kept that, or did you develop some skills and habits? Like, just walk us through your fitness journey, if you will, so far.
If you came to my office and you saw pictures of my younger self, you'd say, so you're telling me that kid is going to do a fitness podcast one day? I would just ask two questions. One, what the heck's a podcast, right? But two, I would have said, there is not a chance in the world. And to me, the reason I'm so passionate about it, my brother, he's one of my best friends. He's also in the industry. He likes to joke when people say, like, oh, you're really into fitness. Have you always been in good shape? And he says, no, we actually overcame childhood obesity. And he says it with a smile in a nice way because we were large boys. There was, we played sports, but I was not, I was just a natural kind of athlete, always a bigger guy. I probably peaked in about seventh or eighth grade, right? And I worked out but in college, like most of us, it was just something to do. And then, frankly, after college, right, I was not the bastion of health by any means. When I lived in Houston, I smoked, right? Um, Fitness was more just like, eh. And when I got off the desk in my first wholesaling job, right, there was kind of that. A lot of people would tell me, like, kind of almost similar when we went to college, like, oh man, wait till you see the wear and tear, the dinners out, the late nights, you're going to burn out. And that was just sort of what you expected. And for me, where it really all changed is when I moved to Boston, and I made a conscious effort, right, to not only do it, but suddenly it became a little bit part of my brand. And I'm a big believer in manifestation, Dan. Like the more you talk about something, the more it becomes part of you. And suddenly I realized also, like, this is a brand that um, the people who are in that world are uber passionate about it. And the people who aren't, they're kind of like, on the fence. So suddenly that became my brand. And I found myself talking with tons of advisors about it. And I could tell you how that really played out.
I can remember even the like meetings that I sat with advisors. There was, I liken it almost to, it might be a strange comparison, but it's almost like when you talk to somebody that has kids, where it's like a different level of a conversation when you're just like, discussing and describing stuff going on with kids. Like when you're talking to someone, like let's use a marathon as an example. If you've done a marathon and you're talking to somebody who's also done a marathon, it's this next level of discussion. And the same goes for any type of health and fitness. So it's great that you were able to incorporate that. So that when you hit the gym in Boston, like tell us where were you? Obviously, I'm from the area, so I know it. But what gym were you going to? What was the neighborhood like?
Oh
What's
man.
that looking like for you?
Oh, you're making me smile. So I was a disciple of CrossFit Southie.
Oh
To
yeah.
this
Oh, I went there.
day,
Yeah, I went to that same gym for about 4.5 years, right until up until COVID. It
yeah.
was one of those things. I wouldn't say that I was ever an intense CrossFitter. I've always been the kind of guy that, like, especially living in the city, proximity was the biggest utility for me. So whatever place that I could find the best value and best combination of working out, I would hit up. CrossFit Southie was a short walk away. Really cool people. I had no idea heading into this conversation. So glad I asked about that. Let's talk a little bit about how you've applied some of the health and wellness in a very busy, travel heavy schedule. I feel like so many people say they want to be disciplined when it comes to balanced diet and exercising, working out. So, what would you say? What are some of those routines and habits or planning that you do to keep yourself on track and keep yourself hitting the fitness goals that you have?
Yeah, great point. And I think what you just said there early on is just making them habits and really building it in. And it's like whatever part you're in your life, you think this is the craziest, busiest, most difficult time. And I think back, right? And I lacked a lot of self-awareness, right? When I had my first child, right? I'm telling my buddies with 4 kids, this is crazy. Oh my gosh. And they looked at me like, you'll be fine. And I'll never forget, right? One of the guys who I worked out with, he looked at me one day. I said, "Oh man, I'm so busy." And he looked at me and he said something that changed my life. He said, "Michael, it's not that you're too busy. You just don't deem it important enough." And it really changed everything. If you deem it important enough, you will make time. And suddenly I realized like I just didn't care enough. But now if I do want to care enough, right, I can. So for me, like I kind of built it into my brand of like I'm the person who works out every single day. Now, my doctor might tell me all day, every day, like, you should probably take rest days. And physically, I'd probably agree with them. But I would tell you the mental aspects are more important, right? And suddenly I'm the type of person who, like, even I had a dinner last night, right? We're crushing steaks, right? Wine, desserts come out. Oh, Joyce isn't going to eat dessert. I'm like, no, I'm not going to eat dessert, right? Now, like, yeah, a dessert would be great, but I'd rather have 2 glasses of wine and I could feel okay in the morning, 2 glasses of wine plus dessert. So for me, if you look at like even my calendar, I look at that throughout my week because I know if I don't work out and I'm not taking care of myself, it's not the best version of me, right? And for me, I look at it like, and I would justify this to anyone as much, I do as much activity as anyone I know, but I would rather do, pick your number, 5, 6 high quality meetings where you're the best version than 8 where you're just dragging, right? So like I do a lot of dinners. People are like, "Oh, I don't do dinners." Oh, no, I do dinner dinners, but I intentionally I go, my buddy owns a gym in Chicago. I work at home, work out at home most mornings, but I schedule 90 minutes before dinner. So when I walk into dinner, I'm flying. I got energy through the roof. And it's in my calendar. It'll literally say summit 90 minutes, boom, right? And that was another, and I've made that part of my career throughout. Early in my career, Dan, one of the highlights, which I'd love to show you at some point, I covered all New England. CrossFit is in its absolute heyday. So my schedule was predicated on I knew every single CrossFit gym to drop into. I maxed out at 474 different gyms across the country or across the world that I've been
Whoa,
to. And
474. Good
four,
Lord. That's a nice
I,
number.
I was looking at, and I would make a note. I probably have about 407 T-shirts upstairs. That if you want a free one, right, they'd give you one instead of paying the drop-in fee. But for me, that was part of my like thing. Like, all right, I'm gonna do this. Go to a drop-in, right? And I loved it. And for me, it also created energy, right? Like, oh, I know I'm going up to Vermont, CrossFit Champlain Valley. Boom, I'm in. CrossFit Waterbury. I'm gonna hit that, right? Like all of them. And for me, that just became kind of part of the fun.
Are you now, when you're doing some of these drop ins, whether it was previous roles or today, are you inviting some of your advisors that are clients of yours, say, "Hey, I'm doing this, like just all aboard and people join," or is this more like your time, your opportunity to like debrief and kind of chill out?
No, absolutely. A shared suffering brings you closer than anything. I literally had dinner with a good friend. I was at his wedding, former client, had not seen in nearly 5 or 6 years. He came into town with a group of guys from New England last week. They took me to dinner at my favorite restaurant. And first thing he brings up, he goes, when we became good friends, 50 things went through my head. And he goes, "You invited me to a CrossFit gym in Dover, New Hampshire, and I had no idea what to expect, and it absolutely kicked my butt." And I go, "Oh man, I remember that." And for me, I could remember it like it was yesterday. I actually had a guy who I remember I was going up skiing in the White Mountains. I found a CrossFit gym. This is probably 13 years ago. I message him. Well, I pull up. It's a house, right? So I call my intern. I'm like, if I don't call you back in 90 minutes, call the police.
Here's my pin. Just check my location, any missing
full
persons
full
file.
full circle. We work out, me and him in his garage, kind of this is weird, but cool. 5 years later, I'm in Portland, Maine, large scale. We didn't talk about business, right? We're just talking about growing out. He looks at me and he's like, we worked out together 5 years ago at my house. Still to this day. And it became like a mythical legend. He's like, oh, dude, anything you need. We're still friends to this day. We send pictures about the kids. It just creates a different connection. And to me, maybe this doesn't win me a ton of fans, but everyone takes people to play golf, right? Like that's kind of table stakes. If you want to come over to my garage, and there's a couple of Fays in Chicago, we have a text chain. You come over to my garage, we bro out and work out. We're friends for life. There's no question.
Are you finding other people that you're friends with in the industry? Or are you seeing other people do that to that extent? Because I feel like when I was covering New England, I also did that. It was like, it's a no brainer to me. Like, why not ask if someone's going to take 45 minutes to like sit down and get coffee with you or lunch? I'm sure they'd like the chance to work out and exercise, assuming they're into like moving around and feeling good. But do you feel like that's something that a lot of wholesalers are doing, or do you feel like you're probably more unique in that just because it's more part of your lifestyle than others?
Um, I've actually found more advisors are like bringing it up to me now. I don't hear many other wholesalers, but I know a lot of advisors. They subscribe to I have a couple. They subscribe to the no walk, no talk. So like, hey, it's 30 minutes. We could do a walk. Let's roll. Which, hey, let's do it. I actually just ran the furthest I've ever ran in my life by a significant distance with an advisor who ironically lives about a mile away, but is one of the largest advisors in Chicago. And he said, hey, man, instead of 15 minutes in 3 months, I'll give you 4 hours on a Saturday morning. Now, needless to say, it was a little intimidating, but I said, hey, if you're going to talk the talk, you got to do it. So,
Wait, did you just go into this without any running training and you just ended up doing like 10 miles, 12 miles? Like, how did that play out from a preparation perspective? Do you throw your body through the ringer just to get that time?
yeah. So I'll give you the backstory. So he is, I think, the top producing at the largest firm in Chicago. And I saw him on a Saturday morning. I was driving my daughter about 7:45, shirtless. He was jogging by my house. So the second I got home at 8 o'clock, I sent him an email. Hey, there was a really, in shape, tan, good looking guy jogged my house, kind of looked like you. Haha, we're friendly. And, he sent an email, hey, that was me. I said, oh yeah, that was my house. If you ever want to work out, he says, yeah, I'm an early morning guy. And it turned into a straight bro fest, right? Who could be more masculine? I work out at 6 a.m. I work out at 5:30. Like I don't
I've
even
read the
wear
Wall Street
AirPods
Journal 4 times by that
four
day,
times,
by
right?
then already.
Like I don't even so then I was like, well, yeah. He's like, I like to jog shirtless. I was like, me too. Like I don't really. So then he said, cool, like let's do it. And I said, okay. So I'm thinking this is great. And then Thursday he sends an email, hey, we'll see you for Saturday morning. I'll be at your house 5:30 for my final Chicago marathon training run, which I was like, a training run? Oh, marathon. I didn't really think much of that. I'm thinking we're gonna like jog like 3 miles, and go get coffee. So Friday night, panic mode sets in. I am literally in bed at 7 o'clock. Uh, no drinking, no nothing. My wife's like, "Are you like sick or something? Is everything okay?" I'm like, so I tell my wife, she's like, "You're an absolute idiot, right? Like you're gonna die." So the guy comes over. He's like, let's roll. And we literally, I'm like, can you do me a favor? He's like, what do you need? And now we start running. I have nothing with me. No shirt, no phone. Like I had like I bought these gel packs because I thought that's what you need if you run 15 or more miles.
The
And
goo
the
packs.
goo, he
Yeah.
looked at them with disgust and was like, throw those in the trash. They're garbage. I was like, okay. So we start running, and I can see he's looking at my shoes kind of rather strangely because instead of wearing Nanos or Nobles, I thought it was a good idea to wear Innovates, which I had not worn in 10 years. They're the flat soled shoes that you used to wear in CrossFit, but I thought they'd be better for running for some reason. So I asked the guy, long story short, I said, do me a favor, tell me when we get to 5 miles. We hit 5 miles. We're now in the Skokie Lagoons near nothing. And he says, oh, are you building on a pace? Is that what you wanted to know? I said to him, I go, I hate to break it to you, but this is officially the furthest I've ever run in my life. And he was like, you're an idiot, but I respect it.
Yeah, he's like, that's not gonna. Your hips and hamstrings won't be feeling
Three,
good tomorrow.
3 hours and 29 minutes later, we get back to my garage. We're laying in the bottom of my driveway. And he says, would you do it again? And I actually told him, I'll never forget it. I said, yeah, and I would have paid you a lot of money because I actually got the guy, to his credit. We spoke the entire time. He gave me a masterclass on our business. I learned more that Saturday morning that I'd probably learned in years of my career. The only downside was I was feeling great, took my kids that night. to a festival. I'd had my wife come and pick me up a couple hours later, and we went to Disney the next day. And for 2 days, I limped through Disney and was pretty much just eating Advil every 2 hours.
That's tight turnaround. I use that word deliberately there. On the long run, unprepared plus a flight, that's not ideal. Can you take us behind or a peek behind the curtain a little bit? Like, what are some of those perspectives that you learned during that run that maybe helped you learn about the industry? Like, you don't have to share crazy details, but like, what's one takeaway from that?
Yeah, one that no one ever wants it as bad as you. Like your biggest threat is not your competition, not at all. It's just a mediocre version of yourself. And if you're making excuses, right? Oh, here's the reason why my business isn't bigger. It's this, that. It's all on you. And what you realize really quickly, everyone sees these top producers, but they don't see what goes into it. And when this guy told me, here's exactly what he does. And he's like, oh, I'm open to it, right? But no one will do it, right? I also realized this is someone, you've met these people, Dan. They could have sold vacuums, they could have sold subs. They were gonna make it. This guy just was running a business, and he realized that the financial service business is the most lucrative, right? But he was just like, I am going to run a business and I'm going to absolutely maximize the value. I also had kind of this, you just realize these people who they have an insane confidence. Some would call it delusion, but it's an insane confidence that I will make it. It might not be this year, it might not be next year, but I will make it. And for me, I got to thank this guy because it was one of the most eye opening. I thought I was pretty, a hardo, pretty tough. And this guy opened my eyes that there was a whole level that I never knew existed.
When I think about Chicago, it could be one of the highest spots to be an external wholesaler. I just feel like it's such a good city. There's the great advisors, a lot of firms are out there. It's accessible, it's not too overcrowded. But how do you manage having a territory like Chicago, going to all these, in theory, awesome lunch spots and dinner spots, and being a participant and enjoying yourself, but not necessarily being like the salad and water guy all the time?
I do a ton of dinners. If anyone does more dinners than me, I'd love to meet them. We should do something together. And I run the same play. There's 4 restaurants that I go to religiously because they treat me great. The food's great. I love to support them. And I've kind of branded around a simple concept. People, oh, I can't. Oh, I should. Like, I drink alcohol. I'll tell you, I love beer. I'm a huge fan of craft beer. And I'm not talking like, Coors Lights or High Lifes. I love craft beer, right? I don't think it's good for me, but I enjoy it. Now, to me, you can't do both, right? If I want that, I got to work out hard. Secondly, I like drinking wine. I think that's one of the benefits of our job. We get to go out and enjoy great food with clients, right? And we can expense it. Like, that's amazing, right? Tell my younger self that, no chance. So for me, I don't drink hard alcohol. Not that I don't think it's like healthier, probably is. It doesn't jive with me. Easier the next day. And then for eating, like if you look at the restaurants I go to, there's a focus on one thing. It's red meat, it's steak. And now, if you ask any of my 4 kids, what is a superfood? They're not going to tell you it's kale. They're going to tell you it's steak. And I'm a big believer. A lot of guys make fun of me. I try my hardest not to eat vegetables. So I very rarely, I cannot tell you the last time I ordered a salad. I kind of joke like the places we go, guys, there's no salad on the menu. And if you order one, I'm going to kind of look at you funky. So I try not to eat salad. So for me, like the perfect meal, I just did an awesome dinner. Thursday, my favorite spot in the city, Asador Bastion. If anyone been there, they know what I'm talking about. I believe it's the best steakhouse in the country, bar none. They know for me, it is, we're going to eat a ton of steak and drink a lot of red wine. And for me, you're going to feel like a rock star the next day. And what else would you want? I have a personal saying. My kids hear me talk about a lot. You are not hungry if your body is not craving steak and eggs. And a lot of people have been like kind of trained about eating on a clock. I just eat when I'm hungry. And I get a lot of pushback. People, oh, your cholesterol. I have a personal doctor. I get my blood work done 3 times a year. I get my cholesterol on my phone. It has nothing to do with that. My cholesterol is, he's like, dude, whatever you're doing. So I tell anyone out there, kind of biohack yourself. I have friends who are vegan. They think I'm crazy. I think they're crazy. But if you're loving life, if you're thriving, loving life, in great shape, going out all the time, eating, keep doing it. If you're not, maybe give this a try.
Take us through when you're on the go. and there's like seemingly zero time in between meetings, and you're either doing like a quick run to a convenience store or something in around the city. Like, what are some of your go-tos? Like, I know for me, I have a few staples of a mix of between bars and jerky brands that I like, but what are some of your like on the go snack staples that get you through?
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to eat a lot of jerky, but then I kind of stopped. I don't eat bars. I just don't like the fillers. So for me, it's real simple. What can I get the most bang for my buck? Efficient, easy. So I go in, and it's never been easier, right? You go in now to any gas station, 7-Eleven. I'm getting two Muscle Milks, two Fairlifes. It's going to have between 80 and 84 grams of protein. I'm going to drink it in 90 seconds. So I'll probably do 3 to 4 like nice meals a week, right? When I'm on the road. And then I'll probably do that 3 to 4 times. And then my favorite, probably at least 2 to 3 times a week. I got to give a shout out. It's Chipotle. And now Chipotle, everyone, oh, what do you mean? It's the simplest thing of all time. I have a whole way to order. I never order from the app. That's absolutely amateur move. But I order, you get double meat and guacamole. You get a ton of food, fair price, and you can eat it really fast. And you got to be cognizant. You don't want to spill on yourself, right? You're dressed nice. You can't go in to your, so for me, I don't do a lot of lunch meetings, one-on-ones. I just don't find they're the most efficient, but I do a lot of large scale lunches. I generally don't eat at those, Dan. It's quick. I also do a lot of fasting. So I generally don't eat at all on Mondays. I generally don't eat before noon any other days. What helps me through those, I've been using them for years. You're probably familiar with them now. LMNTs. Those are absolutely awesome.
Those
And
are
I
my
keep
preferred electrolyte brands, actually. Funny enough, not a
I,
sponsor, could be though. Elements, if
yeah,
you ever want to sign on.
and I'll tell you, so this is something I do a lot in meetings. I'll say, hey, Dan, you look like you're in good shape. You like working out. Oh, yeah. I keep about 50 elements in my bag, every single flavor they make. And I'll say to them, you ever drink any of these? Most guys have no idea what it is. I say, hey, here's two. Next time you work out, drink one of these afterwards. And I say, next time you go out a little late, drink one of these before you go to sleep. Right. Suddenly, I can tell you there's a guy the other day, he texts me. I love him, emails me all the time. Dude, every time I drink an element, I think of you. And I'm like, how often are you drinking those things? Right. And so for me, it's small hacks like that. I'm a big believer, not only in nutrition, but supplementation. And to me, that's how you can kind of build. I say, someone once told me, Dan, uh, think about it like this. Remember the game Mario Kart when you got the star and you're suddenly moving at a different speed than everyone else? He said, Michael, that's nutrition. Once you figure it out, you're just moving at a different speed than everyone else.
Yeah, without a doubt. Great game, Mario Kart 2.
Oh, yeah.
Top three of N64 games by number of times played, likely for me personally. So I appreciate you bringing in that Mario Kart reference. It's fun. I'm glad you bring up some of like the supplement stuff. I wouldn't say that I'm crazy. Like I don't have too many like multivitamins and stuff, but I have like a basket of wellness trinkets like anywhere that I travel. And even I'm working now with a group that's based out of Texas. They had all of their advisors, like their district advisors, came into town that overlapped with the meeting that I had, and the two primary contacts, like the managers that I'm working with. I brought them a little wellness bag, and it just had some electrolytes, it had some like throat soothers, it had some Advil, and I was like, hey, you're going to be in this meeting room that's going to be like stuffy as hell, so like stay hydrated, have some little things that'll help you get through the day, like breath mints, those little things, they'll make you feel a lot better when you're just sitting in rooms or like actively on the go. You need them.
Yeah, it's funny. I never think I take a lot of supplements or vitamins. And people ask me, do you take a lot? No, until I go to travel. And then when I'm planning out my day, and I try to recreate my absolute no different. I'm at home or if I'm on the road. I used to be on the road a lot more, not so much these days. My territory is much smaller. But I try to recreate where my wife laughs. She's like, you're a sociopath. But I recreate it from start to finish. And that helps me immensely, whether I'm at home or on the road. So I take all the same stuff. It is a pain in the neck, but I believe it's worth it.
You know what else I'm a big fan of now that I'm thinking about it is charcoal pills. If anyone's out there having drinks, charcoal pills and some of those I don't know what they're called, but like the drinks that basically help you filter alcohol, those are massive game changers too. They're a huge element if you are stay hydrated. If you're going to drink, stay hydrated. Like take some of those. I'll link some of my favorite products here in the show notes maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I have a friend who, good friend, he owns two, soon to be a third wellness clinics with a doctor on staff. I refer to a lot of advisors there. We talk about it. I openly tell advisors, I'll kind of walk you through my day from a nutrition and supplementation standpoint. And a lot of them are like, oh, and then they'll pick up on it, right? They'll start to do it. And suddenly they're like, hey, I tried what you told me and it made a big difference. Right. And they remember that stuff. And to me, that's what a lot of people really care about. Right. So I'm happy to talk about that. I love that stuff.
You're obviously very dialed in. So you have process, you've got plans, but you've also got just a super busy life. You have four kids. Sometimes if you do get off the rails, how would you respond to that when maybe one of your week's plans just get thrown off, curveballs thrown your way? Like how do you typically respond to that so that it doesn't become something that like derails you for too long?
Yeah, great question. Life happens. So like that's why I never schedule rest days because like I let rest days schedule themselves. Like life happens and there's just some days you can't get it done. Now that's very rare, but I don't want to schedule a rest day and then 3 days later life happens and I'm like, oh, I didn't work out twice in the last 3 days. Then I'm frustrated. And I have a big belief. You can miss days. And anyone who follows James Clear, he talks about this all the time, right? You miss one day, but then you work out the next day. You miss one day and then you miss a second day. Now that's a habit, right? So a lot of people say you can miss days, you can't miss weeks. You got to give yourself a little bit of grace. But for me, it's all about planning. Like I'll admit, this is kind of strange, but I even like when I knew we were taking the kids to Florida for Easter, I'm in the middle of a 12-week back squat program. Okay, I can plan for that, right? I know I'm going to plan in advance. What does the gym look like? I love talking to people about, oh, my gym didn't work. That's great. I'll give you 50 burpee workouts that you can do that will make you sweat like crazy in 20 minutes. And my wife knows when we go on vacation, right? Like I'm working out every day. Now, for me, you got to get up early. You just can't leave it to chance. And that's where I kind of ask people, and they say, oh, I'm too busy to work out. I say a simple question like, Dan, what time do you get up? And if they say, oh, it depends, I'm like, they're not too busy. And for me, it just got to be a priority. Same thing. Like if you watched me every single night, it's like robotic. I plan all my stuff for the morning the night before, not only my nutrition, not only my supplements, my vitamins, but my whole office. So whether I get up at 4:01 or 5:01, by 4:05 or 5:05, I am rolling. There is no thinking, right? And that to me is absolutely enormous. And something I do when I do dinners, like I plan, I mean, you know what you're going to get. You look at the menu 50 times before. And now that in this day and age, it's pretty easy, right? Hey, I want an awesome steak. Don't give me the baked potato. Like it's not that hard. So
Yeah.
I think it's just a lot of visit planning.
As you reflect, maybe specifically within your time in Chicago, or it could be at another time in your career, what's one of the most standout, memorable client dinners that you've had, whether you organize it or you participated, just like one that you felt was executed on all fronts, turned out well, vibes were good, just good outcomes overall?
So being in Chicago, we get spoiled. There's a lot of great places, and I could go on and on about my favorites, right? I'm also very lucky. The gentleman who I work for here at Calamos, our CEO, who really the reason I joined this firm, I consider him, not only obviously my boss, a mentor, a friend. He's joined me for a couple of these dinners. We just did one in the upstairs of RPM Seafood. We had 18 advisors, and then our CEO joined us. He's an absolute legend when you get out with him. The guy can hold court, tell stories with the best of them. And for me, you hit that. You've probably been at those dinners where you just like it's the perfect storm. Like it's the right space, right? And I've made that mistake in the past. You get that big room. Oh, I don't want to, I don't want to get a private room. Is it worth it? And then you get there, they're playing music, it's loud, and you're like, why did I do this, right? So we had the private room. It overlooks the water. The restaurant group let us entertain you. They're the best, right? The food, I coursed out the whole. I actually have the menu still up there. They did a beautiful job. They wrote Calamos Investments welcomes the clients, right? I coursed out the whole menu so you didn't have to think. And it was perfect because it gave everyone just kind of a time to relax, right? Even wine was being poured. And to me, that was the one where, those are the dinners that are the best when everyone's sticking around, right? Like, I'm like, my wife was like, wait, the dinner started at 5. You got home at 11, right?
You know, at
And it was,
3 a.m.
yeah, 3 a.m. And it wasn't like, oh, we went out drinking, right? It was like everyone was there just like, enjoying themselves, having fun. And to me, these meals, it's you get out of them what you put into them. They're a lot of work. I'll admit, they're stressful. Getting the right people there. And we've all been there. Done wrong, it actually devalues your brand, right? But if done right, the amount of leverage is absolutely priceless.
He gave a shout out to the hospitality teams. How about anyone else on your team that you might want to give a shout out for assisting and helping with coordinating some of this?
We had a great team. I got a gentleman on my team, Luke Armbrust. He's an absolute rock star. He comes to a lot of our meals. I will generally bring my colleague Scott Becker, right? Because I don't have to talk product, right? Dave O'Donohue, he runs our market neutral fund, right? I can defer to Dave. Like they know why he's there. But then I can really focus on making sure everyone enjoys themselves, right? And I can actually say, hey, Dan, like, did you like it? How fun? It's great seeing you. Because a lot of these people, right, like you mentioned, there are guys I see a ton outside of work. My life's kid sports, right? I'm at flag football. There's two guys who are both advisors. I'd consider them personal friends, right? I go to drop my kids off at school. That's just kind of how, and now they start to look at you in a different, more authentic, and frankly, I'd consider like a different viewpoint, right? Like they look at you as a human versus you're just trying to, and they enjoy it, right? Oh man, and I get this a lot. Like I don't do a lot of these dinners, and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't either. Or you could go out every night if you wanted, but I think there's something valuable. And to me, the dinner also, it can't just be about the food, right? You have to deliver something that they want beyond that great meal.
Yeah, the simple allure of going out just for dinner drastically changes. Basically, I think, after you're the age of like 28, 29.
Yeah. When I was
you know,
younger, free food and drinks, I will be there.
yeah,
Right.
sign me up for could whatever, but once
Yeah,
you're a little bit older, busier lives, kids, family, it's like, it's not that appealing. It's just like an extra 3 hours of me feeling like I'm working.
exactly. And so now, and to me, it's like you got to do some different things. And I have a saying, I've probably said it to you before, like to be different, you actually have to do different things. So for me, like when I do a dinner, Dan, the most important thing is the invite by far. And if you don't read that invite, and I, who am hosting it, am not saying like I would absolutely go to this dinner. There is something valuable that I can leave with. If I wouldn't go, why in the world do I think advisors would show up? Right. So that's how I kind of process it.
Why don't we close out on this here? If another external or even a younger wholesaler that just started in the industry were basically to ask you, like, how do I avoid burning myself out? What are some of the skills or reminders that I need about including fitness in my life as a wholesaler? What would you say to them?
Maybe I'm cutthroat, maybe I'm a little callous, and a lot of my friends and colleagues have texted this and they'll say, do you ever get worried about burning out? And I say, no. Burning out is how people justify to themselves quitting. And I believe, right, like it's all up to you, right? Like how bad do you want it? Like would your younger self be proud of where you are today? That's something that drives me all the time. Instead of going like, I'd say, hey, would myself 2 years ago, 5 years ago, be proud of the person I am today? And I think most people in this industry, right, they know what they need to do, right? I use this analogy in every single meeting I do, Dan, with clients. I say, Dan, if you hired a personal trainer, they're going to tell you the same three things. We're going to try to work out every day. We're going to eat better, and we're going to cut back on the drinking. And you know what you're going to say? You're going to go, yeah, tell me something I don't know. You want me to pay you for that? But if that trainer gets you to do it, they are worth every single penny. And my belief is that most people in this industry, wholesalers, they know what they need to do. So I work backwards. I say, if I was the absolute best wholesaler in America, right, what would my ideal week look like? Right. And then I just plan it out. I'm going to work, he would work out every single day, right? Hey, he would probably do two dinners or two events, but then he's not going to miss his kid's sports. So I'm going to alternate it, right? Where I can do that, right? He's going to wake up at this time from this time. And if you look at my office now, boom, like everything is regimented. I'm a big, voracious reader. You look over my shoulder, all those books there. So for me, it'd be laying out kind of that old Jocko line. What does he say? Discipline equals freedom. And I would just ask yourself, like, how bad do you want it? Because in this day and age, the bar has never been lower, right? If you show up on time, you win, right? So what can you do to go above and beyond?
So for some of the at-home discipline structure organization, how would you describe the evolution of that? Have you always had that, or did you hit a point within your career and life that it almost forced your hand? And the reason I say that is because I feel like there's a wisdom and maturity that comes with the role. And you have to go through different types of years, or maybe different types of like your own ways of doing things that force you to be like locked in and just take care of it. So how would you describe the evolution of that? Like, was there ever a day you woke up and was like, I gotta change, or did you just sort of build these things became necessary over time and you just implemented them really effectively?
No, it definitely was not like this was always me. Like my buddies from college, I'm like, no chance. Is this the same person? Right? We were different humans. And I think accountability is a superpower. And I talk about it a lot. And I find talking about it, people will laugh at you, they'll make fun of you, right? But it really helps me learn. And it's like writing it down and saying it makes it real. So where I found was like when COVID happened, we're living in Boston. My life is the gym, and suddenly you can't go to the gym, right? Thank God, I had two parking spots in my building and one car, and I've been building a home gym. So suddenly I'm working out by myself every day. Now, like that's just part of my identity, right? Like I just do it. And I have a saying like, if you can't hold yourself accountable, why would anyone else put their trust in you? And I'm a big believer in these sayings. Like Jesse Itzler, I think he's one of the best motivators and most impressive humans I've ever encountered. He had a saying that really changed my life. He said, when something gets hard, I just ask myself a simple question. Number one, did you think it was going to be easy? Right. And the answer is no. Right. And he said, number two, if it's hard for you, it's hard for everyone else. Most people quit when things get hard. Are you like most people? And when you ask yourself that question, it's just like a choose your own adventure, right? And suddenly you realize that no one will ever care about your goals as much as you. Again, it sounds callous, but I say this all the time. Once I realized that I was kind of like my younger years just floating around, right? Oh, I'm doing well. Had a lot of victim mentality, woe is me. And once I realized, Dan, that I was just narrating my life. Once I realized I could author it, it was like game over. And for me, self talk is the most powerful thing. And I'd ask anyone that to try this. Think about the way you talk to yourself internally. You talk to yourself so much crueler than you will talk to a stranger you meet on the train, right? And once you start talking to yourself in a different manner, it changes it. And you hear people say like, oh, attitude. It's like, no, attitude isn't everything, but it affects everything. So once I started thinking like that, it just really like inspired me 24/7. So now it's no longer like a thought like, oh, yeah, there's days you don't want to work out. There's days I'd rather eat this or sleep in, but you're like, that's not the person who I am. I don't do those things.
Well, Michael, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you for coming on and sharing more about your personal experience as a wholesaler, how health and fitness blends in. I mean, this is like the exact kind of topic and stuff that I love bringing to the audience through internal use only. So, thank you so much. Like, where can the audience find you? Like, how should we stay in touch? And if people want to follow along with your journey, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely, Dan. Thanks for having me. First off, I've been a huge fan of your show. Many early morning, late night drives, listen to you. Never thought we'd be hashing it out together. And then I'm a big believer, LinkedIn. I do a lot on there. Anyone wants to send me a direct message, wants to follow me, comment, let's do it. And I just do believe, like, we all have a brand, right? And your brand isn't what you say about yourself. It's like what other people say about you when you're not there. And what's been lost in our industry is just passion. Like, and it's got to be yours. Like, I'm passionate about this, but if you're passionate about comic books, totally cool. I respect the heck out of that. I just want people who are passionate about something.
So internal use only is starting to do a little more video stuff here. So if we were to come to Chicago and do a little video content, what would our workout be? If we were to do a workout brought to you by internal use only, Noble, Michael, Joyce, some advisors, what workout would you structure for us? Are we doing a hit workout? Are we doing weightlifting? What do you think?
So when I get multiple guys at the house, I had a good crew. We had three the other day. I find doing cardio-based workouts is easier. So we'd probably have a ski erg out there, probably a rower, a salt bike, and then some form of weights, kettlebells or something like that. And it's funny you asked that because I had a good friend who's an advisor. I sent an email out. I sent an email every Saturday morning to clients. And he said, do you ever get nervous about sending those emails? It's early Saturday and I I bet you get some people who respond, you know, unsubscribe or this is stupid. And our other buddy who's an advisor goes, we're lifting weights at 6 a.m. shirtless in the guy's driveway. Do you think he cares about an unsubscribe and an email? And we kind of all started laughing. Like, yeah, who gives a crap, right? So it'd be in our driveway. My wife would probably make fun of us. I would tell the neighbors I apologize, but you come out here, Dan, we'll definitely make it happen.
That sounds good. We'll get some of any of the female audience too. Get them in on the action. I remember that at CrossFit being like, God damn, these women are just jacked. Like they are so strong. So we'll include everybody. But yeah, no, that'd be great. Obviously as I think of the future of internal use only, it's including that video content, telling stories, having cool experiences for people that are bringing something unique to the industry. So we'll put a pin in that for now, but it might be something we workshop here towards the end of the year.
Awesome. Let's make it happen.
All right, Michael. Well, thank you again for joining us. This was a pleasure.
For sure. Thanks, Dan. Good seeing you.